I think it's pretty safe to say that Donald Trump is going to have a terrible, terrible week, because as we cross over this 100-day mark and take a look at all of this negative polling that we have been seeing, it is becoming abundantly clear that the American people just do not like what they are seeing right now. And I think as a way to try to combat all of these negative polls and all of this negative vibes, I think Trump is sending all of his minions out into the media to try to suck up to the Mad King the best they can. And I think we've also been seeing more of Scott Bessent recently, because I think he has the veneer of being one of the adults in the room. And I think Donald Trump is sending him out there to try to cool everything down. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these press briefings with Scott Bessent. Here he is talking about China and their tariffs. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
The Chinese continue to say that the U.S. and China are not engaged in any consultation or negotiation on tariffs. You recently said you've talked to your counterpart, but more about, quote, traditional things like financial stability. So can you clarify, is the administration talking to Beijing specifically about tariffs or not?
Well, we're not going to talk about who's talking to whom, but I think that, over time we will see that the Chinese tariffs are unsustainable for China. I've seen some very large numbers over the past few days that show if these numbers stay on, Chinese could lose 10 million jobs very quickly. And even if there is a drop in the tariffs, that they could lose 5 million jobs. So remember that we are the deficit country. They sell almost 5 times more goods to us than we sell to them. So the onus will be on them to take off these tariffs. They're unsustainable for them.
And they are saying you guys are not talking about it. So is that true?
Look, they have a different form of government. They're playing to a different audience. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty again of who's talking to whom.
Does anybody believe this guy? I know I said that he has the veneer of being one of the adults in the room, and I think that's probably true to some extent. But when people watch this and listen to that, are they buying this nonsense? I mean, the question was pretty clear, right? Donald Trump put on these insanely high tariffs of 145%, while he did 10% across the board for most other countries. And he keeps on saying that, oh yeah, China's coming to the table. We're making up deals. We're getting everything settled. It's going to be awesome. But then anytime they're asked about it, it's like, I'm not going to tell you who's talking to who, and I actually was talking to my China counterparts about more broad topics about economic sustainability and things like that. And then he has the gall to say that China, well, they need to remove their tariffs. Like, what? Donald Trump started this whole mess. What do you mean it is China's responsibility to remove the tariffs? Donald Trump is responsible for all of this economic chaos. And for Scott Bessent to go out there and say, oh, this is China's responsibility, and I'm not really going to tell you who I've been talking to or what we've been talking about, it's just a load of shit. Nobody believes that China is actually talking to the Trump administration, and the Chinese officials have actually come out and said as much. They said that Donald Trump is just full of shit. We're not talking to him. He hasn't approached us, and we haven't approached them. So, you know what? This administration just continues to shoot itself in the foot when it comes to their credibility. Let's go ahead and move on to this, where they're trying to say that all of this economic chaos is just strategic uncertainty, guys.
When do you expect you'll be able to give the market some certainty around those deals? Do you have a deadline? Is it the 90-day pause? What are we looking at here?
Good question. And I think one thing that has been a little disconcerting for the markets is, President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people. We had 4 years of bad deals for decades of unfair trading, and we are going to unwind those and make them fair. What we are doing is we've created a process. I think the aperture of uncertainty will be narrowing, and as we start moving forward announcing deals, then there will be certainty. But certainty is not necessarily a good thing in negotiating.
Man, Scott Bessent must really hate himself right about now. This guy is, I mean, he should be a pretty intelligent dude, right? I think he's Ivy League educated. He's managed hedge fund. I mean, he should be able to do the job that Trump has selected him for, ostensibly. You would imagine that he'd be able to do it. But because loyalty to Donald Trump is all that matters here, he has to debase himself in every single appearance. And do you guys think that little throat clear that he does, is that one of his tells that he is just absolutely full of shit? Because I'm really starting to think that is the case. Look, this whole idea that Trump is implementing strategic uncertainty is the funniest thing I've heard all week. You can say that, uncertainty might not be or will be a good thing in some negotiating circumstances, but the way that Donald Trump is doing it is just idiotic. Everybody can see that at this point. You implement the tariffs, you put them on, you take them off, you put them on, you take them off, you pause them. Oh, you put 145% on China, you do 10% for everybody else, and then you try to play this game like, oh, all these countries are coming, they're on bended knee, they're coming to make all of these deals because Donald Trump is such a master negotiator. Nobody is buying this nonsense anymore. You guys have not been able to point to anything substantial as far as any deals being made. You keep on saying that you're talking to 200 countries, even though 200 countries don't even exist. It is just all a clown show at this point. And like I said, Scott Bessent must look at himself at the mirror every night and be like, oh, what have I got myself into? What have I got myself into? Poor guy. Sometimes I feel bad for these people. All right, let's move on to this one when they're talking about whether or not we should experience some supply chain shocks.
Does the administration anticipate supply chain shocks or supply shocks coming now that cargo shipments from China are significantly down? And if so, are there plans in the process of how to address that?
I wouldn't think that we would have supply chain shocks, and I think retailers they have managed their inventory in front of this. I speak to dozens of companies, sometimes daily. But definitely weekly, and they know that President Trump is committed to fair trade and have planned accordingly.
This guy can't be serious, right? I mean, you might be talking to the big box retailers. Maybe you're talking to Home Depot. Maybe you're talking to Walmart. Maybe Target. Maybe the big players you might be talking to, but what about all the small businesses that rely on their products coming from China to either turn around and sell or to take those products and turn it into something of more value? What about those businesses? Do you think they had the capital to just be able to pre-order everything they need for a year? I mean, come on. Who is buying this nonsense? This just goes to show that this administration only cares about these big businesses. There was never any thought put into all of these small businesses. We've heard plenty of stories about how you've got small businesses who have a container or two full of product over in China that might be worth $50,000, and now they have to come up with $150,000 just to ship it over here and pay those tariffs. It's a disaster. And many small businesses do not have the capital, do not have access to the capital to be able to do that. So you might be right that maybe some big businesses pre-ordered and were, trying to predict what Trump was going to do here and was able to do that. But come on, for most businesses in the United States, we are absolutely going to see these supply chain shocks. There's a whole bunch of businesses that have had to shut down, and now those products might not even be coming over to America, which means we are going to see less work at those ports of entry. I mean, it's going to be a whole bunch of downstream effects that we can't even see right now, but I just don't think that people are buying it anymore. Let's go ahead and move on to this one where they're asked about Amazon displaying tariff pricing on the Amazon website.
So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon.
These people are absolutely pathetic. In which way is it hostile and political to show tariff pricing on a site like Amazon? In fact, this would probably be good for consumers so they could understand why prices just went up by 145% on products that are coming from China. I just do not like these people. I cannot stand them. Anything that they take as a slight against them, they must go on the attack for. And now the reporting is that Donald Trump went and called Jeff Bezos and he immediately backtracked on this policy. It is absolutely insane that this is where we're at in the United States of America. The American people should be able to understand that when you put on a tariff, it is a tax that they are going to have to pay. And to try to bring it back to the Biden inflation, there is no clear measure that you could take from Biden's policies directly to the inflation. That's why that analogy makes absolutely no sense. But when you have a tariff, when you say, oh, there's 25% tariffs on everything coming from Europe, it is very easy to attach that number to the sales price of a product coming from Europe. And to go on the attack, or to go and pretend like you're the victim under attack, saying that, oh, Amazon and Jeff Bezos, they're political and hostile to the Trump administration just because this might make you look bad. It's just, you guys are pathetic. I don't have any other words for it. These people are despicable. They can take no pushback whatsoever. If there's anything out there that might make them look just slightly bad, then they go on the attack like this. And like I said, it looks like Jeff Bezos probably reversed this policy because Donald Trump made that phone call. This is not where we should be in the United States of America. Donald Trump should not have that type of control over a private business like Amazon. And like I said, this would have been great for the consumer so they could understand the price breakdown as to how Donald Trump is actually impacting their purchases. So, I don't know, guys. You tell me. Do you guys think that Trump is wheeling Scott Bessent out there a bit more often? Like I said, I do feel like I've seen him on more media hits. I feel like he's been doing more press conferences with Caroline Leavitt. I think he does still have that, adult in the room type of vibe, even though he debases himself every single appearance that we see him in. But what do you guys think? Is the Trump administration trying to cover up for this bad week of polling as we cross over those 100 days, or what's going on here? I got my opinions, obviously. I put it out there, so I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just shovels shit for Donald Trump every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. It is free, of course. And if you guys want to see how Donald Trump's polling is indeed falling off of a cliff now that we have met that 100-day mark, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. It is astounding. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.